Do you want to see what the average person's finances look like? Because it's pretty scary. I'm Nick, and in this video we're going over what the average person's finances look like. I'll go through a spreadsheet. I have a couple different scenarios kind of going over average income, average expenses to show you, are people really living paycheck to paycheck, and can you save any money? I sprinkled in a couple of interesting fun facts along the way to really open your eyes of what's going on out there, because things are expensive. And toward the end, after going through all the different scenarios, I have like 3 of them. I also go over like what could possibly be done to not be in this situation. How you could not be living paycheck to paycheck. How to free up some extra money. So no, it's not only you that's living paycheck to paycheck. Things are expensive out there. And with inflation, it's only going to get more challenging. So as that happens, you have to have more control of your finances so you're not stuck in this position of living paycheck to paycheck. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to the spreadsheets where we're going to go over what finances look like for the average person. I have it broken down into a couple different scenarios that we'll go through. I'll try to go through them fast, but one looking at like an average person, then looking at like what's going on with credit cards, then like a family, and then what we should possibly do about it. So this first scenario, let's break it down. But first, you can see this chart right here that I pulled. So this is wages in America. So you could see this line, that's nominal wages, and you could see, yeah, it's going up, but the blue is adjusted for inflation. So you can see in 2020, kind of peaked around here, and then since 21, it's going down. What that means is your wage isn't keeping up with inflation. That's the problem, and that's what we're going to show right now. So all of these numbers are looking at like the average of what people are getting or spending. So the average salary in America is around $65,000. That's before tax. So I even calculated this on my own. So the amount of tax using these tax brackets would be just over $6,000. I estimated, let's say, like 5% on state tax. Could be more, could be less. But that brings that 65,000 down to this level. So going to our budget over here, just to make things easy, I just said, hey, 55,000 after tax is the average salary of what people could do with. And this isn't even talking about like extra contributions for 401ks. I just looked up the percentage of people who are saving for retirement in a 401k. It's only 53%. Just over half of the people are saving for retirement. Interesting to know. Anyway, so we're going to break this down. How much per month? So if you look at this by monthly, you divide that by 26 because there's 52 weeks in a year, then half of that is 26. Then per month, so you're kind of getting just over this $4,000 per month, right? This is average, okay? So that's almost like $1,000 a week, okay? Now, I kind of broke this down into whether if you're looking at a home or if you are a renter, and looking at how that might break down. So, because I saw the average mortgage is around $2,200 a month, where the average rent was around $1,750. Again, you could be higher, you could be lower, but this seems to be the average. So then I just kind of broke it down into some of the main expenses that people have. Again, split it up into new and used cars. If you have a new car, the average payment is $700. A used car is closer to $500. Then car insurance, I just looked up, like for a new car, it might be close to $170. A used car, maybe close to $150. Health insurance is a huge one. This could vary drastically depending on the coverage that you want, depending on if you have a family or whatnot. On the lower side, let's just say this $400, which is kind of like $200 per paycheck. Even that might be a little bit high, but let's just go with it for now. And then if you like have a family, you could easily see how this is going closer to $600. For a homeowner or renter insurance, it's not that expensive. Maybe for a home is closer to $100, and rent is maybe $20. Student loans average is 500. I just put that across. For credit cards, the average payment is supposedly $200. Groceries on the lower end might be $400. You could see that's like $100 per week, and that's not like that's not a lot. And that could easily go up to 600. Restaurants of 300. That's only like $75 a week. That's actually, that's going out only a couple times a week. People go out a lot more. Then phone could vary between maybe $50 to $100. And going through this, I actually didn't even account for like internet. So you could kind of throw that in, I guess. But gas, if you drive to work, low end could be like $100. That's only what, $25 a week, which most people will probably spend more. So let's say it goes up to $150. Utilities, energy, let's just say that's around $100 each. Amazon, the average Amazon purchases per month for people is $100, and we're not even accounting for any type of entertainment or daycare. So this is the breakdown, and these are the expenses comparing to the income. So the cash flow, if you're more, well, actually, either way, you're not saving anything. You're losing money every single month, and that's a problem. That's why a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. But one aspect that I noticed when I was setting this up is if you have this credit card payment, most people will put money onto a credit card and then pay the credit card like a minimum. So they might not pay their credit card off completely. They would just have this minimum. So this is what this new or this other scenario, what I did here is you're technically still paying those amounts that we just saw, but you're not paying it off in full. You're just paying that minimum, and that average is around $200. So I feel like that's one aspect of how a lot of people are trying to get by. They're paying the minimum on their credit cards. If you're looking at this chart right here, you can see since 2020, credit card interest rates right now, well over 20%. My personal opinion, I think that's criminal. But that's absolutely insane. And by the way, the average credit card balance I saw was around 6 to 7%. So when you adjust for that credit card, then you start seeing that if you're more of a renter of looking at this column C, that's when you're able to start maybe saving a little bit of money. But in doing so, you're keeping a credit card balance. You're getting screwed with that interest. So from there, and this isn't even incorporating entertainment, by the way. I looked up the average entertainment per month is like $300. So if that's you and you throw that number into here, guess what? This cash flow is back in the negative. So that's the problem. So looking at just the average numbers, people, they're living paycheck to paycheck. And if you're more toward this end, then you are way in the negative, still with credit card balances. So from here, I'm like, okay, what's a salary that you can do that could actually break or like live paycheck to paycheck, not be negative, but just be zero? And I did this calculation, came up with the after tax would have to be close to $65,000, kind of doing the reverse of here of a state tax of 5% using this tax bracket. So to just break even with these average numbers above, you'd have to be closer to $76,000 in a salary. And even so, you're still not paying off your credit cards monthly. Pretty crazy. Next scenario is looking more into families. So I looked up the average household salary is around $80,000. And that could kind of make sense of like if the main person is bringing in that's around $60,000, and if the other spouse, they have a kid, they're kind of maybe working part-time of $20,000. So again, sorry, I'm kind of trying to hold a cat back right now. But after tax, again, kind of doing this breakdown over here. After tax of that $80,000 is closer to $66,000. So per month, you're getting just over $5,000 a month. And in this scenario, this wasn't even looking at two cars. So this is what I broke up this time. 2 cars versus 1 car. And this is only looking at the used car right now. Cat, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get down. Okay, so 1 car is $500. 2 cars is $1,000, which is crazy. And we're also including this entertainment if you're actually like going out and doing stuff. So in doing so, again, if you have the 2 cars and kind of in this column B situation, you were down like $1,000. That is if you're paying off those credit cards monthly. And again, no daycare costs. Cat, oh my god, please. Excuse us. So, obviously, you've probably seen this chart before I got to it, but this childcare cost, we're not even accounting for this. Average childcare cost per month, infant, $550, high end, $1,500. Toddler, low end, $400, high end, $1,300. School age, low end, $150, high end, $500. So even if you're taking like the average, like it's basically just an extra few $100s a month on the lower end, we're not even accounting for that. And in doing so, there's a negative here. So if you are in this situation and you have 2 cars, then I'm like, okay, what's the salary then you would have to have? After tax would have to be closer to 83. Before tax, basically, you would have to be making 6 figures to be breaking even, living paycheck to paycheck. You are paying off your credit cards monthly. You have the 2 cars and no childcare. 6 figures. These are literally just cat. Oh my god. This is just going through the average numbers. So you could see looking at a couple different scenarios, this is exactly why people are struggling. And there's some expenses that we're not even looking at yet. So it's even more expensive. This cat is really on my nerves. I'll be right with you, honey bun. So the question at the end of the day is, what do you do? Like, what if you're in this situation? Obviously, a lot of people are broke. If you haven't heard that, like, the statistic is like 70% of people don't have $1,000 in their bank account in case of emergency comes up. So if everyone is broke, you cannot do what everyone else is doing. So here are some things that you can work on to help lower those expenses, and so you can actually not live paycheck to paycheck. So the first one would be have a lower than average car payment. Just because the average for a used car is around $500 doesn't mean that you should get $500. So if you get like a $250 or $300, like that alone, you're saving a couple $100 right there. That's massive, and that's something that you could control. Or if eventually you buy your car, it might take a few years to pay it off, or if you pay off in cash, not many people do that. But eventually, if you do pay it off, then guess what? Your car payment is 0. That's what my car payment is. 0. I don't pay for anything. Obviously, the car insurance, but that's huge. So that's one aspect. Next one, student loans. You know, like the insurance, like the car insurance or renter's insurance, could you get better deals? Like, yeah, sure, maybe, but it's so minimal. Like, is it worth so much of a headache to really dive into? The next big one would be student loans. Obviously, this is a longer term plan, but when you start paying those off, that would free up your cash flow a lot as well. Obviously, that's harder to do, but, you know, that's just one aspect. These next two would be something that we control. You know, there are just some things that you can't control, like a phone bill or how much you have to pay to get to work, or like your utilities, your energy. You can't really control those things. Maybe save a couple bucks, you know, but overall not much. If you budget for like groceries or limit going out to restaurants, you could control that. That can help. Same thing with entertainment. Yes, you can decrease your expenses, but at the same time, you need to increase that income. So you need to gain that experience. You need to move up in your career to make more money over time. You know, if you are young or you're early in your career in a certain industry, you know, it might take a while. But you do need to increase your income, and this is exactly why. Because these are kind of like, you could be slightly flexible with these, a couple of these things, like we just mentioned. But overall, things are expensive. So you do need to make more, unfortunately. Couple ways to do it there. Increase your income, decrease your expenses. I do have another video going over a way to set up your budget. Also another one of paying off student loans. These are just a couple scenarios going through why an average person is broke. Why the average person is living paycheck to paycheck. So hopefully that wasn't too long. Went over a couple different scenarios, talked about what you could possibly do to change that and get out of that rut. And if I missed any other expenses that really stand out, leave them down below and we could talk about it. I just touched on like the main ones that would really drive majority of the budget. So hopefully this opened your eyes a little bit and can help you out. Hopefully you decide to not be the average person, because the average person is broke. I want to thank you again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.